Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Lion, the Way, and the War, where we discuss Jesus, his church, and the spiritual battle that surrounds us all. My name is Craig Allison, and I'll be your host. Okay, so today I'm sitting down with Robin Large. Robin and I and our family go back, at least 12 years.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you've been here at Central much longer than we have. And we came 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago, something like that. I was not working as a campus minister at that time. I had a different job. And then it was just a few years in that the former campus minister resigned or retired, actually, who retired, and that position became available. And just that there's a whole story that I probably ought to tell at some point about how I became the campus minister, but that's not for today. So we go back, and you've been in and out of different things and positions and done different work, and now you work for the church just like I do.
Yes.
And so you and I were discussing a little bit. I had to kind of twist your arm to get you to come do this.
Yes,
You represent a demographic that I've never interviewed at all for this. And I think it's also very cool that I get to talk to somebody that works for the church and has that perspective on what it's like to, be inside of that sphere, that bubble, so to speak. Because it's not always roses and unicorns and butterflies.
True.
Yeah, we hear the stuff that we don't want to hear.
We don't really want to know, yeah.
Church drama. So that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about first, because it's all going to kind of like wrap back around into what it is that we're doing here today. Like, why is it that we feel compelled to work for the church despite that stuff? So I have my opinion, of course, but what's the hardest part for you about working for the church and being inside that kind of bubble?
Yeah. Well, you kind of already hit on it a little bit, just trying to stay out of the drama. And not that we have a lot here. If we do, it hasn't come, through my office. I just haven't picked up on a lot. But that was one of the things when I took this position. I was like, I just, told myself, do not get sucked in to, opportunities for gossip and opportunities for, I just try to be really encouraging. And if someone was to say something about somebody, I try to just put a positive spin on it. Not that I'm perfect, but I feel like you have to have that mindset going in. I mean, you can't just not consider it, because it's probably going to come up and you're going to find yourself in the middle of a conversation that you really don't want to be in, and it took a nosedive. So I think you just have to be really intentional.
Yeah, intentional is a very good word to use, especially, I'm glad you said that word, because there's a lot of negativity directed towards the church today. And I don't know if it's because, COVID changed the way people do church, and we saw a separation, churches dividing. And, I know that our leadership at that time was just under a tremendous amount of strain, because they were trying to decide, do we cancel services? Do we not? They had it coming from both sides, the pressure to do it, the pressure not to do it. And then even outside of the church, you had some that didn't cancel at all, and there were definite ramifications that came from that. And those that did cancel, that was also, part of the consequences were not ignored for those that decided to step away for a brief period of time. So I'm not disclosing any secrets or anything. Central decided to shut down services, just erring on the side of, let's call it an abundance of caution. And I know that we had members there at that time that did not want to do that. But we had an overwhelming majority that thought that was the right decision to make. And it changed, I think, the dynamic of how we, especially those working for the church, viewed not only our leadership structure, but also what it meant to be a church member, what it meant to go to church, what it meant to be a brother and sister to others that we had been separated from, for I can't remember, it was 2 months.
Yeah, it was a while.
So everybody did their own thing. I think we did the church, the home church stuff, the online stuff. What did you notice as maybe the takeaways from that when we came back as a group?
Well, sometimes I feel like we're still not back on the footing where we were before. I mean, I know we've still got some members who, for various reasons, and some of them for health reasons, they're still concerned about it, and they might need to be, and they're still worshiping from home. And I would like to think of some ways to include them a little more. I mean, we've got a lot of things going on here at the building that they're missing out on, and they probably need encouragement.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's a little bit of a different climate, and I don't think we're alone. I think a lot of churches have experienced that. It's just, I don't know, it just threw a wrench, and it's just been hard to get it back.
Yeah. For us, we, of course, we kind of have this like compound. This sounds so cultish. It's not really, I promise.
You said it.
We too enjoyed that time where we had home church and just like connecting more in that regard as a family, and I think really capturing what we've got at the Christian Student Center, which is kind of like that vibe, that atmosphere all the time, and reminding me, or I like to think that that's very similar to the Acts 2 way of doing things. Yeah. And certainly, there was a lot of small groups and home churches during the first century. And so I reconnected, or maybe that's the wrong word. I think I connected for the first time to a deeper sense of what it was to come together and worship God with that family unit together. But at the same time, it brought to light for the first time in my life just how important corporate gathering of everybody coming together was. And I don't know if you experienced the same thing.
Definitely. I mean, it's just amazing. Sometimes I just can get a little overwhelmed just thinking about, I'm like, these are my people.
Mm-hmm.
These are my people. I've been here for 20 years, which seems unbelievable. But, I mean, these are the people that I want to spend time with. These are the people that I want to know me, and I want to know them. And so, yeah, I definitely missed out on all that. Enjoyed the family time.
Yeah.
And like you said, the home worship, but it just can't compare with being back here, with your family. I mean, this really is the family.
Yeah. And that's how it should be.
Yeah, it should. Absolutely.
Yeah. We have that common bond that really is deeper than any kind of physical blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's through Jesus Christ that bonds us as brothers and sisters. So, you and I are both parents, and you have 2 daughters.
Yes.
Both in college.
Yes.
Kate is over at Freed Hardman. She's in nursing school. And then your youngest, Caroline, she comes and bothers me from time to time
I'm
at
sure.
the student center. So we enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about parenting in today's world.
All right.
What's the biggest challenge for you?
I'm a bit of a helicopter parent.
Okay.
So a big challenge for me is to just step back a little bit. I know, Kate is away from home, doing her thing in nursing school, and I'm still texting her, what'd you make on your test? It's like, I can't let it go. And she's probably thinking, Mom, let it go.
Right.
But not that she wouldn't want me to show that I care for her. But, and then with Caroline, it's this, I just, boundaries probably is my hardest thing. Because I probably want to, control and make sure that they stay on the right path. And, but you have to just trust, that you instilled some things and that they're going to make good choices.
So my wife and I were talking about this. We went this past weekend. We went to the Biltmore, and I can't remember, on the way back or on the way there, one or the other, we were just talking about the difference in parenting today versus when our parents parented.
Yes.
And folks, this right here, and I've preached about this. I've written about it. It's different, and I'm going to say it is so much. And I'm probably going to get backlash for saying this from the older generations, but I'm telling you, I believe with my full heart that it is so much harder to parent today than what it was for them. Not to say that there weren't challenges back then when we were raised, but the introduction of the world into our homes, into our kids'
Yeah.
bedrooms, is pervasive, and it's unlike any other time in society.
It's terrifying too.
Not that you couldn't go find that stuff back when we were
Sure.
kids, but it took a lot of
You
work.
had to work at it. Sure.
Yeah. But it's just pervasive today. So you mentioned, oh, I'm a helicopter mom. I don't know how we pull back from that in a healthy way, yet still
Yeah.
parent, and I'm going to say the word police our kids, so they're not completely inundated with filth.
Yeah, because it is so easy to access. And, that is a conversation that we have in our house, even still with college age girls, is put the phone down, And we tried to postpone the phones. We didn't let them have them at really young ages. We tried to put it off as long as we could, and it still has just ramifications that, you could come in the house and we might be in 3 different bedrooms on 3 different phones. I mean, it's embarrassing to admit, but I don't think, probably not alone there. But it's just, it interferes with your family time. It interferes with your, it's hard to be, I'll go back to intentional. It's hard to be intentional with your time together when you've got that easy access to entertainment. And then, of course, easy access to things you don't want them exposed to.
And you said you guys tried to delay it. That's another struggle as parents, because you're getting that pressure because your kids come home. They're like, literally everybody all of my friends has a phone. Why am I the odd man out or the odd girl out? Yeah. And I remember your kids were like some of the last that I knew of to get.
Really, eventually we did give in, and mainly just because, it was going to be easy to keep in contact with each other. But there are days when I wish we had never, let's just go back to the flip phones.
Well, and there again, I mean, because we're living in a postmodern generation where parenting is unique, we have these challenges. I can't imagine not having that contact, that connection with my kids that these do allow.
Yes.
Because it is a scary world out there. And I'm not trying to be all like paranoid or anything, but my goodness, it is a different world.
But it is.
I mean, just look at school shootings. That just one example.
That wasn't something we had to deal with.
I had a podcast with my father, and we talked about that very thing. Just a different world that we're living in. So how did you guys, you and your husband, look at the paradigm of raising kids to be spiritually mature, to have a good spiritual foundation and footing before they left your home, given the fact that these things are so pervasive, that especially with girls, because I had two sons and then one daughter, and it was extremely different with Kaylee because she took the Instagram and those things and all the perfect pictures, and it was a constant comparison for her as a female. Right. So I don't know if that's something that you guys experience.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard as an adult not to see, pictures of a beautiful home or a gorgeous, outfit or whatever, and just think, well, I don't have that, So I can just imagine that and I'm at a stage in my life where, I have a little more wisdom under my belt, and the girls growing up so young, they don't have that. They don't have that discernment yet. They don't have that ability to say that's somebody else's, touched up, edited version of their life, caught in a little screen. So that has been a challenge to, I think it's a challenge maybe with all children, but especially girls. I don't know, maybe that's not a fair statement, but just trying to help them realize that that's not where it's at. Yeah. And I find myself all the time just in my own life just saying, this world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. Yeah. That's not the important thing, what you look like and what you do. That doesn't mean that you can't take care of yourself and have nice things, but the focus through social media is so strong on you need this, you need this, you need this to be happy, and that's a hard battle to fight when you're young.
Do you think that's the biggest challenge that we as Christian parents are facing today with our kids? Social
media, just in general? Yeah. I do. I do.
I hate to say that I agree because it seems like that's such a catch-all, but the last 11 years as a campus minister, and I'm seeing these kids cycle through,
Sure.
and each progressive generation, or not even generation, sub-generation, is a little bit worse.
Yeah.
And just the prevalence of depression and self-esteem and anxiety. It's amazing to me that the vast majority of our college students are on medication of some kind because of the pressures, just the tremendous constant barrage of you're not good enough. You're not good enough. Look at this. Look at this. Look how perfect this is.
It's true.
So I know, with my boys, we didn't experience it to that level, but with Kaylee now, with that, the female psyche in those really impressionable years, from like 13, 14, 15.
Because you compare anyway.
Yeah. Everything's a comparison.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have social media growing up, but I just compared myself to girls at school that, for whatever reason, I think it's maybe just a natural thing, but it's so amplified through social media.
Yeah. Amplification. That's a good word. Yeah. Okay. So, we touched on like competing with others' viewpoints. And you mentioned also, it's not just the kids, it's us too as parents. I mean, we fall victim to screen time, and recognizing the fact that as parents, we need to have that interaction with our kids, and we have a limited amount of time to do it. Yet so many parents, and I can attest to this as a personal testimony. I don't know where you stand on this, but I didn't do great on that, and it wasn't bad. Social media doesn't have to be bad, but there was too much time in front of screens.
Yes.
It's paradoxical that I'm actually, here I am. I've got two screens on. We're talking about this stuff is so bad, but I've got
but here we
screens
are.
in front. But yeah, that's a reality of it, and so I don't know long term what that actually does, because I missed out on those opportunities.
And it's funny because, it's not all negative. I think everybody knows that. I mean, we have our little family text. All four of us are in there, and we send funny videos, and we, sometimes I'll do a voice text. I'll pray, send a prayer to one of the girls or something. So there's things that, ways that we can interact with each other that weren't available to us a few decades ago, but I'm not sure that it outweighs the negative. I don't think it does.
So Kate's been in college how long now? 2 years? Second? This is third
she's
year?
a junior. Mm-hmm.
Third year. Caroline is a freshman.
Freshman.
So what advice would you have to other women your age who are looking, their kids they're in their senior year now, they're fixing to go to college, because you've been through that now twice. What advice would you have for them?
That's a good question. Spend as much time during that senior year as you possibly can. Go to everything, go to every event, every game, every award ceremony, whatever. Just go to all of it. One thing I wish that I had done for both of my girls, and I knew about this years ago from a mom mentor, and I failed to do it. She invited, before her daughter was fixing to go off to college, she had a lunch at her home and invited all the women that had played a part in that girl's growing up years, Sunday school teachers, grandmother, aunts, friends of the family that had just really poured into her daughter. And I always thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for my girls. And I didn't. For whatever reason, I let the time slip by. But if I had a piece of advice to give, I'd be like, do that. I mean, what a blessing to send that child off into the world with that kind of, prayer and just pouring into her one more time before she goes. I could still do it. Maybe I'll do it before they get married.
Yeah, kind of like
I'll squeeze it in.
Send-off ceremony. That
I can still do this.
That's interesting that you said that, because I've got an episode coming up. I'm going to be talking to an author who has formulated a very detailed, exactly that of recognizing, and he's got different sections in a child's life, and he has the different stuff that you do.
Oh, wow.
That's very much similar to what you just
Yeah.
explained, all the meaningful people in their life,
Yes.
and they give your kids something of some type of symbolic kind of thing
Yes. Oh, I love that.
so it's a really interesting book. I need to let you
Yeah. I
read
would love
that
to read
before,
that.
but yeah, I'm going to have him on a podcast. We're going to be talking about that very thing, because he says those moments are monumental
Yes.
in your kid's life, and really
Yes.
lays some super strong ground roots,
Yeah.
foundational stuff for them as they go off to college.
Yeah. I mean, how would you not go off to school just feeling like you had such a support system behind you?
Absolutely.
And it kind of all goes back to intentional, we can't do everything, all the big grand ideas. We can't accomplish it all, but so many things we can do for our children, for the memories, not the purchasing of things, but just really giving them that solid foundation, not just from the family, but the broader family,
Yeah. We have been very intentional about taking trips with our family.
Yeah.
And forming that, rather than buying stuff.
Yes.
Taking trips and creating
Experiences
those memories
together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Experiences. So yeah, I think that's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
So Central, we've been through a lot of changes. We're currently looking for a minister. You've been on board as a full-time secretary, and I'm going to add, man, you've just knocked it out of the park. I've heard so many great compliments about all the stuff you're doing, and just like a lot of different things, visual, and just, there's a ton of stuff. What is your thoughts about the future of Central?
I think we have a lot of potential here that we haven't even tapped into. And I think, it's easy to get discouraged sometimes. We are in a transition phase right now without having a pulpit minister, but, we've had some great fill-ins, and people that we wouldn't have really heard from otherwise. And it's just been, I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed just the change. And of course, I'm looking forward to having someone, full-time, and just somebody that's the consistency of it, and just somebody that's really willing and ready to invest in Central. But I just want to be, I don't know, this is probably a weird story, but we've got these flower pots outside the building, and I water them most every day. And it's just such a weird vibe to be out there sometimes, because some people will come by and they'll smile at you and they'll be like, hey, that looks so good. You're doing a good job. Green thumb, way to go. But a lot of people come by, and I'm always ready to smile at somebody and let them know that we're a welcoming place on the corner. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to make eye contact. I've had a few people glare. And I just think, what experience did you have in your past that made you just think negatively about people that, religion, I guess. And I just want us on this little corner of downtown to just be a positive outreach. I just want us to be warm and welcoming. I think we have that. I'm not saying that we don't. But I just think that should be a huge focus for us going forward, is to just make sure that those people that walk up and down the sidewalk know that we're okay. There are good people in that building, and we care, and we're warm, and we're open, and we're friendly. And so that's one of my missions, actually, when I'm out there watering the flowers, is just to make eye contact with people and just smile and just be like, whatever you've dealt with in the past, that's not here. So I think it's important that we make sure that we are welcoming and friendly and open and warm. But so that's kind of that's one of my visions for Central.
I hear this word a lot now, especially in that, I would say, the young adult demographics.
Yes.
We're talking, 25 to 35 age range. Church trauma, not drama with a D, but
Yes.
but trauma.
Right.
They've been traumatized
Yeah.
by church. I was having a conversation a few weeks ago with a girl, and she falls into that age range, and very clearly is focused on not only her church trauma, but some of her friends' church trauma. And I rarely go a month without hearing that word, talking to somebody about the trauma that they have endured because of church. So, kind of going back to one of my earlier points about people's view of organized religion as a whole. And I mean, let's just face it. We haven't done a great job. And when I say we, I'm talking about
Yes.
churchdom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we are in a downtown community, smack dab on right outside of a university campus. And we're dealing with these people that are averse to it. And so one of the conversations I have is frequently is, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious.
Yes.
And, I don't want to go and sit in a church building and listen to a bunch of people pretending to be Christians and sitting down next to a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how much that bothers me, because the church, what's the point of Jesus coming and doing what he did if we're all going to be perfect?
Exactly.
I mean, we don't even need a church if we're all perfect, So I tell those people, I'm like, look, you're right. You're right. We are a bunch of hypocrites and liars and adulterers and cheaters and, the list goes on and on. And, we come together and, there's some people there that are probably not there for the right reasons. But I'd say for the most part, man, we're just trying to fix ourselves. We're just trying to come together as a community and, love on each other.
Yeah.
Be kind to one another, encourage one another to be better tomorrow than what we are today. And I don't know how we get that message out better to people.
I don't either, because it feels like hitting a brick wall sometimes.
Yeah.
It is hard. I mean, I think we've all, whether we've experienced deep church trauma or, just some, irritations and annoyances and things like that, we've all got a story to tell about why we might not need to be here.
Yeah.
But you just have to look at the bigger picture. I mean, we're just people.
Yeah. And
the bigger picture is that we're not here to pick each other apart. We're here to worship. And if that friend over there is, doing something that I find offensive, grace.
Yeah.
Grace.
I've talked from the pulpit when I fill in and stuff, and I've talked about, the worst that I've ever been treated. The worst things that have ever been done to me have been by church members.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to people that I don't really know, the outside world. And I've thought about that a lot, and I've come back to the conclusion that makes sense. But because if you are a family, like truly trying to be a family, those are the people that you would expect to be hurt by, but the ones that you have closer relationships with, because that's why it hurts more.
Yes.
And so, I hear other people using that as kind of like a cop-out of why they don't want to go to church anymore. And I just want to say to them, if you're listening to this and you're one of those people and you're not going to church, you're doing yourself a great injustice. Because, again, you have a part to play. The New Testament is filled, especially, in Paul's letters to the churches there. He talks about this idea of we're all we have a part to play. He compares it to the body. You might be the hand, I'm the eye, whatever. And if you're not in church and making a intentional effort to be part of a church and making it better, that church is missing you. They're missing a vital piece of whatever part you are in that body. And so I see this as a time, kind of coming now back full circle as a post-COVID smallish church in a downtown community that I think for the most part has an identity wrapped around college, that demographic, that we have an opportunity to express to as many people as we can that, yes, we're broken, we're imperfect people, but I'll tell you what, I mean, despite the flaws that Central has, and we do have them, I have yet to experience a church that has the type of deep, meaningful, generous love that I've seen out of this particular congregation. And that's why I've stuck around.
Still here, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Final words of advice, Robin. let's just say, if you could go back and give yourself words of wisdom before you had kids, knowing everything that you know today.
Ooh. I wish, looking back, I was very overwhelmed by having, we thought it was a good plan to have our children close in age. Sometimes I look back and I think maybe a bigger age difference might have been easier. Yeah. I was overwhelmed a lot as a young mother. And I think I probably missed out on some fun things, just trying to make everything perfect, putting that pressure on myself.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes with something I heard on the radio this morning. It was, sometimes we have these big grand ideas about how, or he was relating it to kind of what you were talking about being involved in the church and the ministries, and saying, I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what my niche is. I don't know what my talents are. And he was saying, just plod ahead. Just plod ahead. You don't have to be the minister in the pulpit. You don't have to be the song leader. You don't have to be, whatever. Just plod along. Just do the next thing that God puts in front of you. And that kind of ties into advice that I would give to a young mother. Just plod along. Just do the next thing. Don't be so caught up in the perfection of it, and that you miss moments.
Yeah.
You miss moments.
Yeah.
Just do the next thing. And I know I struggle with that. If I can't do like the big grand, then I might just not do it at all.
It's hard not to compete today as a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like going back to the social media stuff. It's in your face all the time.
It is.
You want your kids to be special.
You want to do those big birthday parties.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Even before they're
crazy the
born,
stuff we did.
the gender reveals.
The gender reveals. That gets me. I'll watch them because they're good, but I don't know. I guess I would do it if I.
Wow.
If I wasn't the age that I am, that would probably be very appealing to me to do the gender reveal. But no, I just, as a young mother, I do think I missed out on some simple joys, just trying to get everything just right. And that's overwhelming. So plod along.
I don't think the guys struggle with that as much
Maybe not.
as the ladies, because I think there's more pressure that you all put. I maybe not should say this, but you all put it on each other. It's like
that's true.
So
that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So final thoughts. We're gonna actually. This is very relevant to our discussion today. We're going to close out with Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Until our next podcast of The Line, the Way, and the War, love each other, be kind to each other. Remember that the creator of this universe loves you so much that he gave up his only son for you. Have a blessed day.